Hey guys, thanks for taking time to watch this video. I didn't want to take more of your time during the week, so I thought it'd be easier just to record a video for you guys to watch on your own time. So let's cover a few basic things going into this year for community groups just to make sure that we're all on the same page and that there's no miscommunications along the way. First of all, I want to say thank you for being community group leaders. It's such a huge thing for us to actually dive into this year. For us as GSM, this is going to become a big part of who we are, and you're a part of the beginning of it. And so I want you to know that what you're about to embark on with these students is important and it matters. And so I hope that you really see this as not just another thing to do, but actually as a meaningful thing that's going to leave an impact on our students and the students that you get to invest in this year. So from my heart, I just want to say thank you because this is not possible without you. And through this, we just want to see our students grow closer to God, to really know Jesus. And one of the ways we do that is through community. And we want our students to grow in community with each other, to be challenged by one another, and to be challenged by you. And that you play a huge role in their growth process through community. And so we don't want to just come and have a fun time and make it about just a hangout space. We want our students actually to dive deeper into the Word, into real life situations, that they can talk through their issues, they can talk through their struggles, and find encouragement and challenge, and be a place where they can be prayed over and walked with in the process of life. And so first I want to just talk about the idea of destination versus preparation. You should see this in your little handbook if you have that with you. This idea of destination, every one of our students has a million things that they're involved in. They're all over the place. They're in sports and school. Every extracurricular activity you could imagine, they're involved in it. And so all throughout the week, they have destinations that they're going to. They have all these things that they're a part of. And so I think it's easy, especially for me, this is my job, to treat student ministry like it's another destination for students. And all of their stuff, and this is like the pinnacle of what they come to, but really this is just another thing on a long list of stuff that they do. And if it's just a destination, another thing on the list, then I can never be upset or ever go to a student and be like, why aren't you here? Because it's not a priority to them, because all it is just another thing they do. So we don't want student ministry, we don't want community groups just to be a destination where kids come and they hang out and they have fun and then they go into the rest of their life. There's plenty of places they can go to get that in their life. What we want our student ministry to be, what we want community groups to be, is a place of preparation where they can come and they can get training, they can go deeper, they can get the tools that they need to go back into the rest of their lives, all the destinations that they have to go to every single week, and then in those places actually be dangerous. And so our community groups are not just, they become much more than just another thing on a checklist for our students. We want to be a place where they know they can come and be refreshed and challenged to go into the rest of the world. When that's happening, then you can go to a parent or a student and say, man, we really want you to be here. Not because it's just another thing to do and for us to count numbers, but it becomes critical in their growth and for their ability to go into the rest of their world and be effective, carrying the love of Jesus with them. And so what my hope is that this year, that community groups go so much deeper than just having fun. We want it to be a blast. We want this place that they come to each week to be a place where they can have fun. But we also want it to be a place where they go deeper and they dive deeper into who God is, and that they can pray with each other. They can talk through their struggles. That they can really find encouragement in a challenging place to come, and where you invest into them to give them the tools that they need to go to the rest of their week. And I want you, as a community group leader, to see your community group leader as kind of a mini church. As a student pastor, I kind of see all of our students as my mini church. And so you have even a minier church, and your 8 or 9 students and your co-pastor, whoever your co-leader is, you guys get to lead those students. You're not just another volunteer. You get to really invest and pour into these students' lives way deeper than I ever could as a youth pastor, because you get to know their story, you get to know what they're going through and actually be in their lives. And so I want you to kind of see them as more than just your students or a bigger part of a whole, but to really see them as these are your kids to invest in and to pour into, and for you to pastor them on their journey. Um, and so your role as a community group leader is more than just showing up on a Sunday night and hanging out with your students. It continues through the rest of the week. That if this is just a one-time thing once a week that we come to, it's not going to stick with students. I mean, I know for myself, I need reminders of things, and our students need that even more. They need reminders throughout the week. And so I encourage you to be talking to your students throughout the week, be praying for them by name each week, to be making sure that it's not just a destination. Again, on a Sunday night where they come, they go back the rest of their lives. But perhaps on Sunday night would carry through to the rest of the week and everything else that they're doing. And so that means that you got to be diligent in contacting students throughout the week and reminding them, letting them know that you're praying for them. And then if you've kind of seen a student on a Sunday night who's had a particular issue or struggle, or they have something big happening in their life that week, I just encourage you to really lean into that student for the week and to maybe text them every day instead of just a couple times, and to really make sure that they know that you are walking with them, and that if anything's going on, they can contact you. But that's not just a one-time thing. And again, if you're doing a Bible study, they're going to need reminders throughout the week of what did you talk about, how does it apply to their life. And I think maybe even some of the times the best time to do that is in the middle of their school day, because they all have their phones throughout the day. And it's during those times that they really need those reminders the most. They need to know you're praying for them. They need to know that you are doing battle with them, and to be reminded of what you guys talked about on Sunday night. So I'd encourage you to take it beyond, get creative with it, and take it beyond just a Sunday night getting together, but make it something that goes into the rest of life, where you're really doing life with your student. And then on a Sunday night, it is critical that you come each week fully prepared for your lesson. I'm going to let you guys choose what you study together, what curriculum you use. Of course, it needs to come through me first, so if you're going to use a curriculum, please make sure that I approve it, so we're not getting crazy teachings or too far away from who we are as GSM. But it really is going to be up to you, to your team. Of course, ask them questions, ask them if they really want to go through it, because if your students are engaged with what you're studying, then you're just going to lose them, and the effectiveness goes to zero. So make sure that whatever you choose to study really does reach them. So you might want to talk with them before you really dive into that. But then when you decide that curriculum, it's critical that every single week you become prepared with that week's lesson. Maybe have an outline of where you're going, because students can see when you're not prepared. They'll see right through you, and your effectiveness again goes to zero, because they're not going to engage if you're not prepared. So do your part before you get there to prepare the atmosphere for when you get there. And that means also praying for that time before you get there, the Spirit would really move in your group. I think you seeing your students go deeper and open up with each other is going to be directly in proportion to how much you pray for that and allow the Holy Spirit to lead. And make sure that you leave room for the Holy Spirit to lead, that you don't have to fill every second with a lesson or every second talking, even if it's other people talking. Leave time for the Spirit just to move and to open up hearts, because some of your best nights will probably be the nights where you don't even touch your lesson. You came prepared with it, but you don't touch it because just everybody is pouring out their heart, and you go really deep with each other. And that goes to, don't be afraid of silence. You don't have to talk the whole time. If there's an awkward moment, you don't have to fill the space. You can sit back and let the student. You can put a question out there and just sit on it and wait for someone to share. Because sometimes with kids, I was this kid in youth group. I had stuff to say, but I had to kind of work up the courage to say it. If there was a long enough silence and no one spoke, then I would speak it. And so hopefully one day students will be talking all over the place. But at first, it might take a while for students to warm up. And so just don't get to a point where you feel like you have to fill a silence, where you're talking every moment just because your kids and your students aren't talking. That just encourages them to never talk, and then eventually you're 6 months in and you decide to stop talking, and then nobody's going to talk. So as hard as it is, and as much as you may like talking, this is not a time for you to teach or preach to your students. They get enough of that during the rest of their week. You get it from me on Wednesday night. They need you to kind of facilitate a discussion instead of preaching at them. And so make sure that you put questions out there. You let students talk. You give time for students to share what they're going through, share prayer requests, and that you spend more time listening and speaking. That's your role as a community group leader. Again, you may love to talk, but it is not the time for you to do most of the speaking. You need to listen to your students. They need an outlet to share with each other and hear from each other. Sometimes the students who have things to say, the students who never talk and they say something will have a bigger impact on your group than you ever could by your speaking. So make sure you don't talk too much. And then this brings up, if you are discussing your past, make sure that you don't glorify it, you're not laughing it off or talking about how funny it was that you made some mistake in your past, because that just tells students, oh, it's not a big deal if I make mistakes too. They need to know that there's consequences to actions, and though you may be so far past it that you don't feel those consequences now, you don't want to in any way put a stumbling block in front of your students. And so be really careful when talking about your past and what you've gone through, and make sure that the weight of your past matches your tone and the discussion, where the discussion is at. Probably the beginning time where you're just goofing off and talking about random stuff isn't the best time to dig into your sexual history. That may be a totally different time or never. But that's something you need to be discerning of and make sure that you do never make light of, because it does not serve your students well. And the first night, in the first couple weeks, make sure that you establish boundaries, so the students know this is what can happen, this is what can't happen, this is how we're going to treat this host home, this is the expectations for us as a group. And each student is going to need to sign that commitment form that you can find in your folder. Make sure each one of you have copies. If you don't see me before that, make sure that I get that copy to you so you can print it off and have all your students sign it, because it is crucial that there is confidentiality, that there's trust, that people know on the front end what are the expectations. Because nothing will ruin your group faster than someone sharing something in their group and telling somebody else, and that person who shared finding out about it. That will shut your group down in a second. So there needs to be something that holds your students in your group to a higher level, and that's a commitment form that just helps with that. You can always go back to that and say, hey, remember we talked about this, you signed this, and you can hold your group accountable to it. So I want to make sure that you don't just pass over that. You make sure that every single student, before they can be a part of your group, has to sign that commitment form. I want to ask you about that and make sure that happens, because if it does not happen, we could end up in a pretty messy place in the future. We want to make sure that our community groups are a safe place for students to dive in together and to grow, and they can feel safe opening up. Now, if your student opens up about something that is life-threatening or could lead to self-injury or self-harm, you need to let them know that it's your responsibility to tell their parents, to make sure somebody knows about it. And so if in your book you should see a section how to deal with students who are really going through deep stuff, and when there is an emergency, you need to let me know, and we can figure out how we're going to talk to the parents, if we need to alert authorities. But you need to make sure that if a student comes to you with something that's going to hurt them, hurt others, and lead to self-harm or anything that is more than just a struggle that they're having, it has to be shared. You would never want something to happen, you know that you could have done something to stop it. And so make sure that you bring it to me, and that we can figure out how to deal with it. And then it's off of your plate from there. But make sure that release comes to me, and we can figure out how to go forward. But do not hold that in, because we don't want to have to deal with the mess and the regret and the hurt that would come from that. Confidentiality is great until it leads to further harm and damage. And I trust you're discerning on that, and work with your leader in that as well. If there is something that kind of concerns you, have a conversation with the other one, pray about it, and then if there needs to be action, make sure that is taken. And then beyond Sunday nights, make sure that you're getting into their world. It's great to text them, to call them, but if that's all that ever happens, it's going to be hard to really form that community. They need to see that you're interested in what they're doing. And so I'd encourage you to have them bring their schedules of the things that they're involved in, and then to split the students up between the leaders, not in front of the kids or students, but split it up to figure out what games you can go to and try to hit every student in one way or another each semester. It's Sounds crazy, but if you sit down and you have all that stuff, you can figure out it's probably once every couple weeks that you need to actually be going to something. But that speaks volumes to students and to their parents, and just builds trust. And then you'll be surprised how much that just opens up a student throughout the rest of the semester in your group and to relationship with you throughout the rest of the time. And that's what we're really going for, is not just for them to show up, but to really go deeper and for you to have those relationships with them that really dig in deep. And with that, the words that you speak, do you have power to speak into these students' lives? So by you showing up physically and then speaking into their life, you may never know, or you may know down the road, the impact that you have on their life. Speak words of life into them. Tell them they matter. Tell them you believe in them. Tell them you're proud of them. Make sure that they know that you are 100% for them. I think some of the most powerful words that were ever spoken to me were spoken by youth leaders. I remember two specifically that I will always remember and always be thankful for, because if it was not for them, I wouldn't be here today. And so never think that just because a student may not respond, that the words you speak and the life you speak into them is not having an impact, because it is. In the same way, be careful with not joking around too much in a negative way with your student, because though you may know it's sarcastic, they may not. It will really tear them down and hurt them. Speak words of life into your students continually, repeatedly, and make sure that they know how much you are invested into their life and how much you love them. And also throughout the week, like I said before, start a group me. Get on social media with them. Get a Facebook group together. Not a Facebook group because they don't do Facebook. So figure out ways to contact them, to talk with them throughout the week. Find times to get together outside of group with students. Find times to get together with your entire group outside of community group. Those times outside of Sunday nights are going to be some of your best times to go deeper and to grow together. So make sure that you're thinking beyond just Sunday nights in those terms as well. And encourage your students to go deeper. You're going to have a few students who really get it and who want to go deeper and mature. And so make sure that you can figure out who those students are, and you are discerning in that, and encourage them to take next steps. Maybe it's a book that you can go through with them. Maybe it's podcasts you listen to that you can send them each week to listen to. Encourage them to go deeper, discover their gifts, to get involved in the ministry team, to find ways to serve in the community. It will be huge for you to look at them, to see their gifts and their talents, and to encourage them to use them and go deeper in them. If you speak that word, those words of life into them, you see a student who you say, I really think that you have this gifting. They may not even know it's their gifting, but they're going to trust you, and what you say to them is going to be so important that you may just spark something that impacts their career choice and their future. So never underestimate that as well. So I would just encourage you to be discerning and prayerful as you see students who maybe are ready to take the next step in their faith. And then finally, I want us to be aware of loving our host homes well. Even if you're the host home leader, first of all, if you're a host home leader and you're leading a community group, thank you. You're amazing. But I want you to know that you can tell your students, make sure that they know that they need to respect your house, and that when they leave, they need to leave it cleaner than when they came. It is not. We don't want them to leave and you have to clean up your house still. So whatever host home you are at, I want you to make sure you lead your students through leaving that place better than when they found it. That means you probably don't need to do any of the cleaning. Just make your students clean up and make it a requirement. They can't leave until that place is spick and span. And if you are a host home leader, this doesn't apply to you, but for those who aren't, let's find creative ways to love our host home. Let's write them notes. Let's get kids to do certain things for them. Let's bring them gifts and candy and treats and whatever we can, just to love on them, encourage them, be thankful, make sure they know when they hear over and over how grateful we are to be at their house. Because it's a huge commitment to have people over each week, and we want to make sure that we respect that and that we are discerning of that as well. It's been 20 minutes, and it's a long time to sit here and watch a video of me talking. I've been looking at myself on a screen for 20 minutes, so I'm kind of done with that as well. If you have any questions, always you can email me or call me. And I'm so excited for this year, guys. Seriously, I have no idea what to expect. It could be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Either way, we don't know. There's going to be 100 kids or 5 kids that show up. Either way, we're going to love them. We're going to invest. We're going to go deeper, and we're going to see God do amazing, incredible things. Do not forget to be to go before it, through it, and beyond it. Cover it, bathe it in prayer. This is I've figured out more and more in my life. Everything we do is a direct result of how much we're going to pray and seek God and allow Him to lead. So before we get to Sunday, make sure that you are just covering this thing in prayer. And God has incredible things that are coming up for us. So again, thank you. I love you guys. You're awesome. I'll talk to you later. Bye.